Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for another Game Week 7 preview. A double Game Week 7, of course. Today I'm joined by FPL Heisenberg. And Wes, my first question to you, off the back of a very healthy green arrow, I must say, last week. Are there going to be any double Game Week players in your team this week?
It's all up in the air, as we'll see by the end of this video, where I'm at. But potentially, there could be 2, there could be 0, there could be 1. Yeah, there's certain things I'm looking at that I could do. But yeah, I think most likely to be 1 or 0. But yeah, we'll get into that. And like you said, it was a healthy green. The annoying part for me was I gambled on the sort of, I wasn't sure about Chilwell. I thought, right, he's got a chance of coming back in, more attacking upside than Shah. Obviously, Shah had a more high likelihood of obviously starting and the clean sheet, but I gambled and it didn't pay off. So yeah, a mistake possibly. Obviously, it looks like one now. It was method to the madness, but yeah, I think I'd chalk that off as a mistake slash a gamble that went wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I mean, yeah, a really good score. We can't argue with that. You talked about your goalkeeper rotation last week. I do just want to give you a shout out there because it's clearly something that you thought long and hard about, and instantly, it's really paid dividends for you. A huge hauling goal.
Yeah.
Moving forward, though, I mean, you have 0 double game weekers currently in your team. So, yeah, just without revealing too much as we move on to your team going forward, what are the sort of players you're looking out for? What sort of players would you possibly recommend for this double in a more macro sense?
Yeah, for me, it would be, again, this does apply for my team and elsewhere, I suppose. So the way I'm looking at it is I might get in Kabore as a way of, it achieves 2 things. It gets me a double game player for this week, and it frees up, say, 1.5 million-ish from Chilwell, as a lot of people have the Chilwell issue. So that would be my thinking there if I go for Kabore. If I go for Morris, it's about getting in that possibly the best double game week player on penalties, etc., and a decent double for Luton. The sort of one that no one's really talking about would be from Burnley. Again, I won't be squeezing him into my team, but I think you say it Koleosho, something like that. 5 million midfielder. Just looked every time I've seen him play, he's looked really bright. He didn't get the assist in the Nottingham Forest game. I don't know if anyone watched that one, but he created it. And then I think it was Foster who sort of miskicked it and ended up getting the assist that way. But he looks like a bright player. But like I said, he isn't going to come into my team. If you do need budget, and again, it would be like bringing in Kabore. It would be bringing him in for 1 game week and then relegating him to your bench and him being your 8th attacker that you just bench week in, week out. So yeah, don't rip up your team to get them. But equally, I can't remember if I said this a couple of weeks ago. I've always felt like this argument needed balance. A lot of people were like, avoid this double game week. Luton, they're newly promoted sides, they're rubbish and all this. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't think Luton have got any points yet in terms of in the Premier League. I think I'm right in saying that.
They have one. They have one now, yeah.
They've got a draw now, sorry.
Yeah.
But even before then, someone like Morris is picking up points because you don't need to, it was a 3-1 or 4-1 loss against Brighton, but he scores the penalty. It was a draw in the game just gone, but again, he scored the penalty and etc. So players from teams who get relegated or are poor overall teams can score points. We saw with Leicester last year, they got relegated. I had plenty of decent FPL assets over the course of the season. So yeah, but that would be my major take home about this double game week. Don't go too gung-ho on it, but also don't be so forthright in being anti this double that you miss out on potential opportunities. So say, for example, if randomly if Alvarez gets injured in training, and I know he's definitely out, just as an example, then Alvarez to Morris is a decent enough move because there's not that many forwards doing the business right now. I don't think I could afford Alvarez to Watkins, for example, in one move. So yeah, why not jump on Morris for 1 game week? Or the other option for me, if I do free up some money from Chilwell to Kabore, would be going from Archer to Morris, playing Morris for 1 game week, maybe benching one of my benching SAKA if I hear if he's definitely out, benching Maddison if he's definitely out, benching Bremo maybe, who's disappointing a little bit in recent weeks, and having one, a Luton player into double game week. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Maybe, I mean, I put myself into that category perhaps. Someone that perhaps was a little bit naive and just said, oh, it's Luton and Burnley, I don't want these players because they are 2 of the weaker teams in the league. But as you say, it doesn't matter who you play for in terms of the quality of the team that you play for. We saw Maddison last year have an unbelievable season in the team that got relegated. Not saying that Morris is on that level, but I think your point being that you don't need to, play for an amazing team to get FPL points. And Morris this week is a good pick. I mean, for people that are on Jackson, right? I presume a lot of people watching this video already have done that move, maybe over
Yeah.
someone like an Alvarez. But yeah, there we go. That is your thoughts on the double. Interesting to see if you do end up going for one of those players.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into your general thoughts about your team, I do want to talk about a player that you just mentioned, Saka, Madison as well, with the yellow flags. Your thoughts there are going to be interesting. Chilwell too, quite a lot of flags popping up across popular picks in the community. I do want to mention that this is the final few days now where you guys watching can take advantage of Fantasy Football Hub's win your mini league or get your full money back offer. After this deadline, it's done. It's not going to be about until next season. So if you want to take part in that, if you want to take advantage of that unbelievable deal where it's pretty much a win-win, either you win a mini league or you get your entire money refunded to you for your entire year of Fantasy Football Hub membership, no matter what purchase level you choose, what tier you choose, then the link to do that is in the description and the pinned comment. Big push, because you might as well. After a few days, it's gone. Okay, mate. Saka, Madison, Chilwell. Where are the issues in your team? It looks pretty solid if all the players are fit. Is that what it's going to come down to?
Yeah, it is. And I do have 2 free transfers, so I'm not panicking about that really.
Okay.
And especially as with my tactic on the wild card a couple of game weeks ago, it was to have a deeper squad to rely on if needed. So, with Chilwell being out of the team, I was planning on, if I did end up keeping him, he would probably be benched anyway. And I'd play both, say, Estupinian and Cash, even though they play each other. Unlikely to be a 0-0, of course, but they've both got point potential. So I'd be happy enough to play them, even though it wasn't the original. The original plan was to play Chilwell over one of those two a couple of game weeks ago, but FPL always evolves. So Chilwell was going to be benched anyway, so I don't necessarily have to transfer him out. Saka and Madison, yes, it's very much a wait and see there, which is why my moves are so much up in the air this week. If those two are fine, then like I say, I might target someone like Morrison this week, or I might target Chilwell to Trippier if I want to go up, or Kabore if I want to go down. Maybe a Botman, but yeah, I think I'm likely to go all the way down from Chilwell or all the way up to Trippier, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry I think I've skirted around the point of Madison and Saka. It's why it's always variable to I've held these 2 free transfers. I'm going to be waiting till we get more news. We're recording this on a Thursday today. I think it's Thursday.
Yeah,
isn't
Thursday lunchtime, Thursday afternoon. Yeah.
Losing track, but yeah, Thursday lunchtime. So within the next 24 hours, I'm guessing there's going to be press conferences for both Arsenal and Spurs. Maybe the manager will come out and say, yeah, they've trained as usual or whatever. Feels like Saka's maybe a bit more of a doubt after not being in training. Madison feels like we haven't heard negative or positive news since the post-match stuff after the North London derby. So I just don't know there. Obviously, Arteta mentioned about Saka, didn't he, in the pre-match conference for the cup game.
But yeah, just about his lack of training, not being able to train since the derby. Yeah.
So for me, they're 2 big players from an FPL point of view and a football point of view. So Arsenal fans and Spurs fans, if they spot these guys in training, will be tweeting them and they'll go viral instantly, pretty much. Yeah. Likewise with the big FPL accounts, if someone spots them in training, we're going to find out about it on Twitter very easily. So yeah, waiting to see in there. I'm hoping they're fine. I might try and utilize my bench if I do the Chilwell. Let's just say, for an example, 2 moves I could do this week would be Chilwell to Kabore and Archer to Morris. Looking at my team setup as of right now, both Archer and Chilwell on my bench. Once those moves are in, I could then, even if Madison and Saka are both out, I just bench them both and play a 4-3-3 with Kabore and Morris, and that would be the use of my 2 free transfers. The reason why that's good and bad is it gets two double game week players. It allows me to hold Saka and Madison if they're only out for 1 game week, but it does mean that I'm tying up money in that Archer. I really like having in my squad at the minute just for being that 4.5 man. It does tie up an extra million in that slot for future game weeks, which I know is going to lead to future transfers down the line. It ties up, and that if I'm building towards a Salah fund, let's say at some point a Bruno or a Son or a Saka up to Salah, I'm going to need 3-4 million to do that.
Yeah,
probably closer to 4. So yeah, tying up an extra million in that Archer slot isn't ideal. So yeah, if those 2 are absolutely fine, and I still want Morris, maybe I lose Alvarez to Morris. I don't know. But that feels like a bit of a mistake as well. So
It's
Yeah,
tough, isn't it though? Because you've already used that wild card, which of course you're seeing the benefits of now with that deep squad. You don't have to panic about these injuries, and you can keep,
yeah,
solid long term holds. Perhaps I don't know your thoughts on that, but in Saka and Madison, but yeah, to change the structure of your squad and get in a
yeah,
Salah or yeah, something like that, or even a Trippier. To be fair, it is one that you have to really, really pre-plan now. You can't just jump on someone like that. So yeah, the moves that you make now are going to have massive ramifications and until probably the
yeah,
second wild card.
yeah, absolutely. And if for those who do have a wild card and planning on using it in the next couple of weeks, they can guilt-free or stress-free bring in someone like a Morris or anyone really and wild card out them within a couple of game weeks anyway. With me, I have to be a little bit more careful. Obviously, like you said, there's always pros and cons of wildcarding in any game week, really. Pros for me is a massive points gain so far. So, yeah, will I have to reinvest some of those points to perform some surgery? If I go for the Luton players, maybe. Kabore, I'm not worried about at all, really. If I go Chilwell to Kabore, he'll play one game week and then he'll just go on my bench for the foreseeable. And I'll pick 3 from 4 solid options in the other defenders I've got because after this week, Spurs, Villa, and Newcastle all have a decent run, and then I'll have a Stupinian to plug the gaps and play him in his good fixtures as well. So defensively, I'll be solid enough with Kabore just rocking third sub. But yeah, the Morris one, like I said, if I do the Morris one now, at some point, if I do need a million, I'm probably going to end up reversing it and going back to Archer. So is it worth all those transfers? I don't know. It possibly is. Like say, if we know Madison and Saka just have a minor thing, then it possibly is worth it, even if it will mean more transfers down the line. That's just something I'll possibly have to swallow. And yeah, if it ends up costing me a -4 at some point, then I can see that as reinvesting the points that I have gained on that wild card.
It is a tough spot though, isn't it? Because yeah, every decision now, there's no sort of like get out of jail free card to be used, no trump card. This
Yeah,
is where it gets tough, FPL, because
it
you're making
does.
decisions now that are just going to be huge for your
Yeah.
potential moves down the line. Let's talk about
Uh,
your AI
Carry on.
transfers, just because I think that will give us some sort of thinking, and
Yeah.
it leads into this discussion as well. The moves on screen that I've got here are Chilwell out, which I think it makes sense. It does. A player that's not in the team anymore. You can see by
Yeah.
his predicted points. Played in the cup last night. Got injured again. Not really that surprised, to be honest. Trippier comes
Yeah.
in for him, which yeah, really solid move. I want to get your thoughts on Trippier in a second in terms of
Mm.
the budget of him, the price of him compared to other Newcastle
Yeah.
defenders. I mean, you have one already. And
Mm.
then to fund that, it's Saka that's going out now for Diaby,
Mm.
but that is potentially slightly because of Saka's flag, which is
Yeah.
up in the air as well. So first of all, let's talk about Newcastle defenders.
Yeah.
Is this the last week to jump on Newcastle defenders? And who would be the best one? Who's the one to target in your opinion if you can only go for one?
Yeah. I think, like I mentioned earlier, if I do check out Chilwell, it will likely be all the way up to Trippier or
Yeah.
all the way down to Kabore. I have Shah, but there's nothing wrong with Burnham Botman, of course. But yeah, looking at what we know, what Trippier can deliver with his assists, as we saw last game week, as we saw last season, and he's the most consistent points returner in that regard. Good on the bonus as well, of course. So yeah, that's definitely an option, and something like Saka to Diaby makes sense for, like I just said about Cash having a good fixture and obviously being part of Villa. Diaby has a good fixture run and looks really good as well. So yeah, I really like those moves from the AI. It just, I guess, it just does depend on that Saka. I'm not removing Saka before Bournemouth
No, of course not.
if we hear he's fine. So
Yeah.
can't do that. I can't do that move really if we know Saka's okay. Especially as Saka's obviously performed really well this season. He's one of the top point scoring midfielders, if not the top, isn't he
I
now,
think he
mate?
is the
Maybe.
top, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if I can stand by him, that would be ideal. But yeah, at some point, even if you know, if I want Salah at some point, someone out of my mid, which was something I talked about last week, but then all of my midfielders scored really well last week, apart
Mm.
from Bremo, who's obviously a lot cheaper than Salah. But if I'd have done a move to say I'd have panicked and did a -4 with Son and Madison or Son and Saka to Salah and a cheaper option, then I'd have just been screwed, even though Salah got 10 points or whatever he got. So yeah, I guess there's an argument with Salah's fixture and coming up that if you can get a really solid midfield anyway, like don't get me wrong, I really want Salah, but will I be squeezing him in with all these other midfielders? These sort of semi-premium ones like Saka and Son and Bruno, or whatever, performing decently as well. it's a real tough one.
It is tough
In an
because
I
the fixture run
Yeah,
for Salah is so good, and
yeah,
he could be a captain option as well for a number of
yeah.
those
When
games. Obviously, depends on Haaland's form and how City look, but City's fixtures aren't always phenomenal coming up. They've got some tough away games where Salah has
Yeah,
some decent home games.
yeah, exactly that. I think did we speak about that last week on the video as well about how Haaland's run is getting a bit more difficult. However, just looking at it, it's going to be hard to move away from Haaland in any week, really, because over the next five, Wolves away this week, then it's Arsenal away. Okay, maybe that week, but then Brighton at home. Brighton concede plenty of goals. Man United away. Is that a tough fixture? At the minute, we'll have to see where we are come, 4 game weeks time, won't we? But yeah, Salah is a great option, but because of the restructuring, I still don't think he's essential just because other midfielders are doing the business. And you can, like, I was happy enough not having Salah's 10 points this week because my four others, my four expensive midfielders all scored the same, if not more than him. So, yes, it's a tricky one. In an ideal world, I'd somehow get him in for Umbremo, but that's obviously going to be a real price jump and almost impossible unless I
Yeah,
ditched Haaland, so which I don't want to do.
I do want to end on your thoughts on Burma because it's a player that's in my team that is proving a little bit frustrating. We've seen there with the
Yeah.
AI transfers that Diaby is recommended to come in. It's worth saying that Saka is still predicted to score more points than Diaby. The tool isn't saying that. It's just saying that you need to fund the Chilwell move. What's the best way
Yeah,
of
yeah,
doing
yeah.
it? And you look at
Yeah.
Diaby's fixtures compared to Mburmo in that mid price slot.
Mm.
Mburmo's more up and down. Diaby's a phenomenal, really, for the next six.
Yeah.
I mean, even Brighton at home is a really good attacking fixture.
Yeah.
Thoughts on him and Villa in general? You've got cash in there already.
Yeah, I really like Diaby. He's playing up front essentially. He should have got an assist against Chelsea. Watkins had a shot blocked, didn't he? And then
Yeah,
Watkins ended up just scoring the rebound, which obviously negates the assist, but he created that chance, if you like. So yeah, I really like Diaby, and there's absolutely nothing wrong for going for Diaby. If I was wild carding this week, I would probably have a fairly similar team to the one I've got. A few changes, obviously, and then one of them would probably be Embremo to Diaby for that fixture. And there's also Ward Prowse / Bowen from West Ham.
mm.
Their fixture runs decent enough now with starting off with Sheffield United at home. Kind of a little bit more of a mixed bag for West Ham, but yeah, those two have been pretty decent despite some a toughish start for West Ham, I believe. So yeah, there's definitely some good alternatives out there now.
There are a lot of options. Yeah, it's good. I really like this season that we're not pigeonholed into, like,
Yeah,
people say the template, whatever. I don't think personally the template is that strong this year. We've seen players outside the template do really well over a number of weeks
yeah,
now. So there are options to go with players that, maybe aren't the most popular. We saw with the Newcastle defense, you can pick any of three or four really, and you're fine there. And you've
yeah,
got cash in there, which I absolutely love. A lot of people have Udogi starting. You've got him as well. Chilwell out now
yeah,
will be interesting. Diaby, Will Prowse, Bowen, even Eze coming into midfield conversations. Morris up top. I think it's quite a fun one. I think in terms of
yeah,
FPL seasons that I can remember, it's pretty fun.
yeah.
Diaby there
Uh,
as your AI transfer. It's worth saying
yeah,
that to everyone watching as well. AI transfers are part of the premium membership on Fantasy Football Hub. Once again, get involved. You've got a couple of days now to go and find out your AI transfers for the upcoming game week and the rest of the season. Link to do so is down below. Wes, sorry, I interrupted you.
no problem, mate. I was just going to say that with my, like you were saying about there not being that strong of a template now, you could easily take all five of my midfielders out and replace them with five different ones, and it still be, it wouldn't be differential for the sake of it or quirky or whatever. It would be five solid midfielders. You could have Salah in there, Foden, who did well last
Yeah.
week, Pedro Neto's doing decently enough for a cheap option, and then yeah, like the ones we've already said, Diaby, Ward Prowse. And there's some I probably forgot off the top of my head. Even someone like Rashford could come
But
back into
yeah,
the mix, couldn't he? So
absolutely.
there's a viable midfield that I could easily build by ditching all five midfielders and replacing them. So yeah, it's very much an interesting season. I guess the Haaland captaincy every week has made it not as interesting in a way, but that was the same last season, and maybe that's about to be shaken up with a double game week this week, and with Salah's fixtures becoming so decent as well.
Well, at least we have the conversation next week. Obviously, we'll save that for next video. But Arsenal away, that is a conversation. You have Son and Madison, to be fair, raring to go there.
Yeah.
That for the first time this season, there'll be a debate there at last. But yeah, then I'm also looking at, United away. We don't know how good that defense is going to be. Chelsea away, we've been good defensively, although not good going forward. Even Liverpool at home, yeah, I look at these fixtures and I'm still scared. I would be scared of not captaining Haaland, I'm not going to lie. But just in comparison to Salah's fixtures, I don't think that it's guaranteed.
What about this week? Obviously, Morris isn't in my team as of right now, but in terms of the captaincy debate that people might be having, I think it would be this week between Haaland and Morris. Whether that's it's one of those where if it goes wrong, people are saying, "Oh, it's Emmanuel Dennis all over again," etc., etc. And it could go wrong, of course, because Haaland's stats are incredible. And just a tangent on that, whilst it's in my head, I see Haaland's. I tweeted this from Hub, I think yesterday. I think he's had 15 big chances so far this season, which is like the next best person, or the next highest is like 8. And I think Haaland's only got 8 goals. So Haaland's actually missed at least 7 big chances so far this season. So he's probably missed more big chances than most players have even had presented to them, because he gets in positions. So
crazy.
Yeah, he's leading the way for big chances converted and big chances missed, I guess. But yeah, my point there is Haaland. People who went against Haaland against West Ham the other week got let off massively by his wasteful finishing. And if he actually ups his finishing, as crazy as that sounds, because he's already scored 8 goals, he could actually be scoring, and he probably should have scored more than he actually has so far. So that's an interesting one, which is a very long way of saying it's a bit risky going against him when even against a double game week player like Morris. However, a caveat to that is I wouldn't talk anyone out of having a little bit of a gamble on Morris this game week. If Luton get a penalty in one of these games and he scores it, there's a high chance of 3 bonus like he did in the last game. And then if he blanks in the other one, it's 11 points. For Haaland to beat that, he has to get a brace, or he has to get a goal and an assist, which, let's say Haaland does get a brace, 13 points. You'd only lose 2 points in that scenario. So it's not
worth going for it, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's not one where most weeks I'd talk anyone out of I'd be saying, no, don't be silly, go for Haaland, blah, blah, blah. But this week, I think Morris is fine if you've got the appetite for a gamble. Won't always work. Like I said at the top of the show, my gamble last week I thought, right, Chilwell might come back in left wing, could be one of those big hauls for him. Let's risk it. Even though I knew Shah had a greater chance of starting and a better fixture, I took a gamble and it didn't work. And it's not about it being right or wrong. It's about having that appetite to gamble sometimes on certain players if you wish to do so. It's however you want to play FPL at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that is a good place to end this one, Wes. Very good stuff. Now, obviously, we don't know what your transfers are going to be at this time of recording, but we're waiting for news as always. So, guys, if you do want to see Wes's final team reveal, transfers locked in Saturday morning, that is on Fantasy Football Hub. Once again, you need to sign up now, take advantage of that offer, because in a few days, it is gone. And it won't be returning anytime soon. That is for sure. Wes, thank you very much for your tips and advice. You've made me reconsider a little bit on the double game week players, I must say. Not that I'm going to get any, because my team is not in a position to do so. But yeah, I know that I was wrong. I was too adamant that these teams are bad, therefore don't get their players. But that's not how FPL works. We know this. So Wes, thank you very much. Good luck this game week. Good luck to all of you as well. Let's all try and get some green arrows.